Wrestling Talk Nation. And here's your host, C Double.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to All Wrestling Talk Nation Indy Superstar Spotlight. I'd like to welcome my guest. If you don't mind, let me play a little music to set the mood of this interview, because these guys deserve that kind of attention. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, the BloodBound Warriors, yes, Grey Wolf and the Red Scorpion.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, y'all were so good it was last time we had y'all, we had to have it again. So, I appreciate you guys joining me and basically us doing it one more time, having fun with it. So it's an honor, and I appreciate it big time having you guys on here.
Excellent. The honor is all ours. It's much appreciated that you have us on again.
All right. We got Scorpion driving up on the road, so we're going to have to work with him, so he can hear us well and everything. And then we got Grey Wolf taking care of some business in the training room. So guys, this is our late night edition. Like I said, I appreciate y'all being here. We talked a lot of the beginnings and everything, but for the ones that haven't probably heard, I posted it, but they didn't get an opportunity to hear. How did the BloodBound Warriors get formed?
Scorpion, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I'll answer it. Well, it's a long story because, almost as long as I've wrestled, somehow, some way, I've always been associated with Grey Wolf. Early on, he was my first biggest feud that I had with, and we've had great matches together, and we worked so well together, and it was natural that for us to just come together and form as a team. Many organizations were, when they saw myself, wanted to tag me and Grey Wolf together just because we have such similar looks. Although we're quite different, we still have just that warrior style of look. So when we initially formed, at least if you want to, we started at a fed that I started at, which is Susquehanna Wrestling Organization out of Columbia, Pennsylvania. And we later then took our skills to the world famous Monster Factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey, and that was Danny Cage's idea, and then the rest from there is history. We've wrestled for Ring of Honor on 2 different occasions thus far, and are looking to do work elsewhere. I know there's been talks of overseas, like in Japan, but right now everything is just talk. Even Canada as well. So, we're up and coming. Trust me. Keep an eye out for the BloodBound Warriors. You're gonna see a lot more of us.
All right.
We're counting enemies. We're counting enemies. We're counting the heads. For all the skulls we want to collect along the way. All we can assure is that in our wake, we're going to leave a path of destruction unlike any other team that you've ever seen. So just be aware. I wouldn't say up is coming in the mustard. Just leaving destruction in our wake. Just follow the lines of bones, follow the lines of bodies, follow the lines of skulls, and you'll soon be led to the BloodBound Warriors.
Well, I got to say, you guys have definitely, I've been kind of keeping it in touch and watching everything. Want to talk about kind of like when you first teamed up, because one, I don't want to call leader, but like, how did you guys kind of form the identity of the BloodBound Warriors? Did you guys kind of get over, like, did you when you looked at each other, you kind of said, all right, let's kind of, go together on our gear. Let's kind of make sure we look together. Or was it just something that you did your thing and kind of, Scorpion did his? I mean, because you guys both have unique looks, but yet it complements each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, myself being the veteran out of the team, obviously I've been in the business a little bit longer. but I wouldn't say there's a leader. I say we complement each other very well, and it just seems to all fit into, collectively together. I mean, he had his thing going on, I had my thing going on, and it was separate ideas from different promoters that tag us up, as he had told you. I mean, we had originally started feuding, so everybody wanted to see us, these two monsters of men, take each other out. But, the more people looked from the outside looking in, saw that we complemented each other very, very well. And think instead of having these two forces, beat each other into oblivion, one being the immovable force, the other being the unstoppable force, the other one being the immovable object, what would happen if we took the two and combined them? And really, we do have each our own identity. We really do. We are quite compatible. I mean, I've said it before many times that, where I lack, Scorpion picks up, and where Scorpion lacks, I pick up. And, together we make a very cohesive unit. And, as far as look, height, build, even our gear style, our warrior mentality, our creativity, everything sort of meshes and melds. And I'd say in the team, one is not without the other. Like, I couldn't drop in Scorpion, find another partner, and vice versa. It just wouldn't work. Because like any great tag team that you've ever seen, there's something about it that just clicks. I've tagged with many people in many teams throughout the years, and some of them some of my partners I see as brothers, and that's just a bond you establish with people. But never once have I found that. I guess say soulmate would be the perfect way to describe it as far as a tag team. That when you're together, it just clicks, and it's sort of that inseparable bond you have. That you could only understand in being with that perfect tag team member. You see it with all the classic tag teams, over the the Rock and Roll Express, one wasn't the same without the other. The Road Warriors, I mean, they tried replacing, interchanging different people after Hawk had passed away, and it just didn't work. It was just never the same, it wasn't that collective, it was just always something seemed to be a little off. And that's how I feel we are, we each are our independent own personalities, but together we're this monstrous force. And I really feel that this, everything just sort of fit, and, destiny would have it that we join our forces together. And that's sort of, the legacy we've set out to establish.
All right there, Scorp. What do you guys say to that?
What was the question again? I'm actually getting gas right now, so I'm a little distracted. But what was the question again?
All right, sorry about that. Just kind of like what kind of the road to when you guys were first teaming up, kind of looked at each other, was it on, did it just instantly clicked as a tag team? Did you just, or like, did it take some work? Did it take some, getting used to? Did, like the gear situation, what was it like kind of forming this team?
It was interesting forming the team. He pretty much said everything. I mean, there's not much for me to add to that. It's just, like I remember, I always loved watching Grey Wolf. He was a mentor of mine before I was ever even in the ring. So just when he came out, I mean, he unlike anyone else, really knew how to command an audience. The red and black paint that we both use now, I obviously adopted from him. And I remember watching him and thinking to myself, God, why didn't I think of that? Because it was so unique and so cool. But at the same time, it was interesting when we teamed together for the first time at the Monster Factory. Danny Cage wanted us completely covered in paint. And this is something that I've never done before. So I had no clue what I was getting myself into. And the picture that graces the walls of the world-famous Monster Factory of myself and Grey Wolf has no paint on. And I look like a red and black zebra. I mean, I look totally ridiculous.
I have no idea how that happens. They must have pulled an older photo from me when we weren't tagging before, and then sort of slapped it together with that one. Because whenever we do paint, we do paint together.
Yeah. No, I know that. I've seen your all's matches, so...
Right, but like he was saying, we're so different yet so similar, but at the same time we complement each other, and we complete each other. So, and I think that's why we're so dynamic and so just awesome. I'm sorry to say, but we're freaking awesome.
I mean, if you didn't say you're awesome, I would be very upset myself. So don't feel bad about saying that. I mean, it is true. I mean, I'll give you that. We're gonna apologize to say we're good. I mean, come on now. So, all right, so here's the thing. So, you guys have been traveling. You've been working. You talked about working in Ring of Honor a couple of times. Let's get to like the ground roots. This year has been some challenges for you guys with injuries. I know Scorpion. I've seen a couple of interesting items you've collected. Those knee braces where you scorpioned them up. But would you like to elaborate on kind of that? How was that? To kind of fight through the injury to get back to where you're at now.
That's a great question. And by the way, it is scorpified. Those knee braces are scorpified. Everything I touch, I scorpify. If I could touch it, I could scorpify it. Therefore, those knee braces are interesting in itself because when I originally got the knee braces, I was quote or at least be able to wrestle in from my orthopedic surgeon. These things had to weigh like 10 pounds each. They were so big and bulky. Then you put a knee pad on top of it. I looked like I had Megatron knees. They're huge. So these ones are a little more streamlined. And, I put my own little touch to it, to make it unique. And no one will ever have a pair of knee braces quite like that. That's for sure. But the struggles, we or at least myself, I injured myself in a tag team tournament that we were in at the Keystone Cup for Lancaster Championship Wrestling, which currently is known as Keystone Pro Wrestling currently. We're wrestling the House of Truth, which consisted of Donovan Dijak, the top prospect winner of last year, and Jay Diesel. And he's like a hired muscle of the House of Truth. And while I was performing that dive, which the reason I chose this particular dive was I had more of an opportunity to land on my feet. And that is exactly what happened. And as I did, I completely ruptured my patellar tendon. Now, keep in mind, this is my second knee injury of the year. The first one being sustained March 21st, initially at a Ring of Honor tryout. It was actually my second tryout that I for Ring of Honor. So I had surgery for that May 5th and returned to the ring May 30th. Now it may have been just a little bit too early. So you think about it. That's not even 4 weeks, or that's not even a complete month. Within the same month, after having a partially ruptured patellar tendon and lateral meniscus, I wrestled Ryback and I'm sorry, Ryback. Forgive me. Rhino killed me. Rhino and Snitsky for the Lancaster heavyweight title, and we had a lot of dates set up that year. Coming up, and I remember talking to Danny Cage in the parking lot of the Orthopedic Associates after I got my MRI results, and I knew my knee was hurting really bad. So I thought if I just do it now, it'll be okay. But I really rushed it back into it, and I don't want to blame that, but as a result, it's a possibility that then August 15th, I completely ruptured the patellar tendon, and I really messed myself up really bad. So those are the injuries I sustained. And then Grey Wolf can tell you his, however, which was actually right after and against Jay Diesel, but it's been quite a process trying to get back, and I've been really busting my butt and working hard, and I give lots of credit to Orthopedic Associates of Lancaster, their physical therapy unit there. Scott, I think it's Scott Smith, he's their head physical therapist, and their team there really took their time with me. I've never been to a physical therapy where I'm out of there within like I'm in there for like 2 hours, sometimes longer. Most of the time, anywhere else I've gone, you're in and out within an hour. You barely warm up before they're sending you on your way.
Yeah.
And they really challenged me. I always take a change of shirt now because I leave there drenched with sweat because they work me out so hard. And again, I've never had that much or been pushed that much, nor had that much attention. So I give him a lot of credit, and I am leaps and bounds further along than what I would be had I not seen them. So I'm really thankful for that. Go ahead, Grey Wolf.
Yeah, well, mine. First off, it's been said often, that in this business, it's not a matter of, if something happens, it's a matter of when and to which degree of severity that it does happen. Now, as Scorpion had said, I was in the ring with Jay Diesel, and, I was fired up the, month before he had just, Scorpion had hurt his knee, and, I'd got jumped by Donovan Dijak, who's an immense individual, standing 6'8" or whatever he is, and Jay Diesel, who's as wide as he is tall. Unfortunately, we lost the match with Scorpion having injured himself very, very early in the match. I couldn't make the tag, and, numbers game, both of them being incredibly talented superstars and in incredibly good condition, both of them. It was just, the odds were too great. It was the numbers game, and, they ended up almost injuring my arm there. They worked with the arm the entire match, slammed my arm to the turnbuckle, the post on the outside of the ring. So I was, coming back the next month, I was hot. I wanted, a little bit of revenge on Jay Diesel, and I went really hard, rushed into the ring, and I started just blasting him all over the place. Anything I could do to him offensively, I was doing to him. I was angry, and the crowd was behind me, and, the adrenaline starts going. And somewhere in the match, he held onto the ropes as I whipped him in. So I went to give him a clothesline over the top rope, and him being such a firm, stocky individual, instead of going over the top rope like I had hoped, I blasted him with the clothesline. But in doing so, I felt my pec just pop, my pectoral muscle on my right side. I felt it just pop, and I knew immediately that I had torn it. It just didn't feel right. And you could, when you hurt yourself that badly, I've torn muscles before. It didn't even hurt. I don't want to say it hurt at the time. I went into shock almost immediately afterwards because of the severity of the injury. So it's, as I said, it's not a matter of, if you get hurt in this business, it's just a matter of when, how, and, to what degree of severity. And it took me a good month. Unlike Scorpion, I don't have medical insurance. So, jumping through hoops to get to see a physician, it took me about a month to just get an MRI and get to see an orthopedic. And for that month, I was going crazy. I thought I was going to have the surgery to reattach it. It was pretty bad. There's, an indentation, and the swelling was so severe that it was literally black and blue for about 3 weeks from my pectoral muscle down my shoulder and into my bicep. That whole region was black and blue for about 3 weeks. And I couldn't put a shirt on by myself for the first couple of days. I had to have my wife help me just put a shirt on or take a shirt off. My range of motion was extremely limited, and the pain was excruciating. After the first 2 hours is when I really started feeling the pain that night. And I knew it was wrong. I knew there was a problem. And after seeing the physician, luckily they said I wouldn't have to require the surgery because my tendon was still in place. There was just a lateral tear across the muscle itself, which, being decommissioned, it's not the physical pain that, bothers me. With what we do, it's just part of the game that you build up a high pain tolerance, because if you don't, you're not lasting very long in the business. And, just the way I train itself, you're usually walking around sore, from either training in the ring or training, lifting the weights. You're always walking around in some sort of pain. So the pain really, wasn't as big a deal. There's sort of a mental getting back and trying to sustain myself. This is the longest I've been out of the ring in over 10 years. I celebrated my 10th year in the business in November. And up to that time, the entire time, I've been working nearly every weekend, at least once, training very hard in the ring, and to sort of take that break when this is what you do and this is what you live for, and this is sort of all you have, and this is what your passion is, and you put everything you have into it. To not be able to do that, and take that break after 10 years of doing it consistently, it's sort of a shock to you. You have to reaccustom yourself and start doing different things to occupy yourself so you literally don't go crazy. But sort of overcoming the mental toll that it took on me was a lot more than the physical. And I confessedly went to an extremely dark place for a little while because, not being able to do what I essentially do, and that's be a professional wrestler. I couldn't train properly in the gym. I was still, going to the gym. 2 days later, I was in the gym doing what light things I could for different body parts. Even though my pectoral muscle was in excruciating agony, I could, and even I think 3 to 4 weeks after the injury occurred, I could do, I think, 3 push-ups. That's what I could do. That's all I could do was 3 push-ups without having some sort of pain. And I eventually started building myself back up, and the physician even recommended, 12 weeks out, and I could start, going a little bit lighter, working with the weights again, which I'd gone extremely light on the weights when I felt that I could properly do it without any sort of pain or risk of injuring myself further. But when this is what you do and this is what you live for, nothing's going to keep you out of the gym. Nothing's going to keep you away. And I was even making guest appearances and, autograph signings and, such sort of things just to keep myself occupied, to keep myself around it, because if not, I didn't know what I was going to do. So the mental toll it really took on me was a lot. And I can honestly say that, I've overcome that, and now I'm feeling probably better than before I hurt myself, just physically and mentally. And I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to take on the world.
Well, I mean, that's why I would the reason why I was like, so, wanting to have you all in this, because like, I understand how it is getting hurt. So to imagine, you guys are, going at it, doing your thing. You guys, like I said, I remember seeing that, the pictures of, Scorp, tearing it up with Rhino and Snitsky. And then I saw, you, and then I saw where you guys got injured, and I was like, man, what, So, as we talked about the mindset of just kind of getting back, were you guys able to communicate the whole time? Were you guys able to keep each other together while, because you both were going through this kind of, I don't know, at the same time, but, it almost sounds like it was.
Right, right.
I'll let you answer this, Scorp.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting because, like, with tag teams, when one partner goes down, you're out. The whole team is out. It's really hard. So, and with my injury being so severe and the recovery being so long, I mean, God, we're going on 6 months right now, and I've only just gotten cleared to wrestle, and that's just to get in the ring. That's not ring ready wrestle. You know what I mean? Because I got a lot of, wrinkles to iron out, shake off some rust. It's going to take some time, and I will never be 100% from this. But at least I hope, that, I can come close, and I'm going to have to adapt. I'm going to have to change my style because, this injury was pretty bad. So, and that's the dynamic of tag team wrestling. When one partner goes down, you guys are out. It's, unfortunately, we don't have like a third member, that we could throw in there. That's the power of the Freebird style. But, we don't, there's not a lot of us walking around out there, or we would have recruited them. But I'll just say that for now.
Yeah, no, I get that. And, so go ahead there, Grey Wolf.
I mean, I feel to a certain degree very fortunate that, that we both got injured at the same time, because what if, he had just come back and then I get the injury, then we're out for even longer. So it's sort of a blessing in disguise that, when we both got injured, it was at the same time. So we have had similar dates coming back. I got cleared to wrestle again at the December 4th. I was cleared to wrestle again. And I've been doing so since. And now he's, for the most part, cleared to wrestle. As he said, he still has a little bit of training to do and, get ring ready again and really back into the swing of things. But we were able to stay in contact. Luckily, we made several appearances together. The BloodBound Warriors weren't out. They might have been down, but we're fighters, and there was nothing keeping the BloodBound Warriors down. If you scroll back, you'll see it's posted several pictures with fans. Just behind the table and doing what we do, and that's communicating with the fans and giving back as much as we can, even though we can't do so in the ring. We're always giving back and always doing things for the fans and making sure and letting it be known that the BloodBound Warriors are not out. We might be down, but we're fighters, and there's nothing that's going to stand in our way. We are that cohesive unit, and we are warriors and brothers bound by the blood of war. There's nothing that's going to make us submit, and there's nothing that's going to make us stop. So I think with it, it really was a blessing in disguise that we did both get hurt at the same time, and we were able to keep in contact and discuss a lot of things, and set our next goals, and focus on what we have to do next when we're both ready. And I believe we're, for the most part, both ready again.
Well. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. Sorry.
Hey, no, that's fine. I mean, so here's the thing. All right, so you guys are coming back. Obviously, you're preparing for the next step. And I want to kind of direct this at you, Scorp. You just said you're going to have to kind of change some things up, kind of have to brush up because as you said, you're been cleared to wrestle, but you are not ring ready, as you said. So the question then becomes
Right.
how, because in the ring, it's not like practice is different from doing it live. So the question then I have is, how do you prepare yourself to be ring ready when you really can't be able to go full throttle when you're practicing? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's baby steps. Like for instance, again, due to the severity of my injury, and I'll just give a little backstory here so that those listening can somewhat understand. 10 days after my surgery, I end up with a staph infection.
Oh
So
God!
now this is my second surgery of the year now. And 10 days after my surgery, I get a staph infection. And August 30th, I go in the emergency room, and I end up staying there for, I think, 11 days it was. As a result, they perform 4 INDs on me, which is incision and drainage. So what they do is they cut me open, try to clean out the infection, and then sew me back up. And they did this every other day. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Sunday. And I remember my Friday surgery, I ended up going through AFib, atrial fibrillation on the operating table. So I nearly died, okay? And the reasoning behind that was, at least from the doctor's perspective, was just because of the amount of stress that was put on my body with all those different surgeries in succession like that. So as a result, once again, I get sent home. I got a PICC line in my arm that I have to administer intravenous antibiotic IVs. I have like I'm forced to non-weight bearing. That is, I'm on my knees, so I have to walk with a walker because I can't use crutches. So I'm like an old man, and the integrity of the skin at the very bottom of the incision got so tattered from all the cutting and sewing that you could literally see my patellar tendon because there was no skin there to cover it. And they spoke about doing a possible skin graft and stuff like that, but they just let it heal on its own, and thank God it did. But it took a long time. On top of that, they took out the original sutures they put in that were supposed to last for a while. So they put in something which the doctor deemed tenuous. Well, I didn't know what that word was, so I had to look it up. And it basically means it's not up to standard or subpar. So it's not even nearly as good as what I had in. So it was like a temporary fix in my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they're going to have to do surgery again. I can't take this. You know what I mean? And when they told me they were going to do it again Sunday after I'm in the ICU now, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to die. That's what was going through my mind. I'm not going to make it. And thank God I did make it. And I am where I am today. But I tell you what, my doctor, my orthopedic doctor, is like the bearer of bad news. Nothing he says is ever anything good. I mean, everything is like, my initial post-op follow-up was, well, I just hope to get you back to where you're walking without a protective device or a cane or something like that. I just hope that you can straighten your legs fully, and I'm telling you, had and don't do this, people, but this is me, and you can, yell at me and whatever you want to, but I'm telling you what, I did everything the doctor told me not to do. I swear to you. And the thing is, my perspective is, nobody knows you better than you. And granted, yes, I returned a little early, and perhaps that is why I completely ruptured my patellar tendon the second time. But I tell you though, it's like, it's just something that I needed to do. And with those, so he took very small steps with me. I only was allowed to finally put weight on my leg in December. I mean, think about that. I was out since September, and in December, I can finally now start to put weight on it, and I only got, and then I got cleared for physical therapy in December. So, it's been a while, a long while. And again, thank God for the physical therapy that I received and the quality of it, because I've bounced back tremendously. And I don't walk with a limp. I can run, I can jump. It's just right now it's more so getting the flexibility back in my knee, because again, because of the severity, I have bone deposits within my patellar tendon, which will cause it to be a little more rigid than normally, which might work to my advantage, because now I should have a hard kneecap and I might jack somebody right in the face with it. So,
I guarantee. I guarantee when the doctor was talking to you, I can hear you saying all this stuff to him too.
Oh yeah.
So okay.
Maybe the change our finish to an old Lex Luger style. He did the flying forearm with the metal plate. He was doing something with a flying knee.
So,
right.
So really, and that you just explained something. You had the staph, and this was before the complete tear. You're saying, right?
This was after the complete tear.
Okay.
And even the way and even the rupture itself was not like a clean tear. It was as if somebody took a miter saw to my patellar tendon and then sneezed. Because it like went down into a V kind of and came back up. So the repair was very, 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 it was just a very unorthodox, tear. So something that the doctor never seen before. Again, he's the bearer of bad news. He has nothing good to say ever.
So dealing with that, I want to talk to, because, this is something that would, in any other faction or tag team, because as you say, you kind of depend on each other in bookings. It could tear up a tag team, or it could tear up a friendship. You guys have, teamed up for a while, so what was your mind? I want to ask you, Grey Wolf, what was your mindset when you were hearing Scorp going through all this stuff?
Well, after when I was first told about it, I was actually going to make a tag, and the official told me, I don't think your partner can tag. And I looked up. I wasn't even looking at him. I was, getting pummeled by these two men. I look up, and I saw him on the apron, sort of laying on the apron. And I knew something was wrong and something was bad. And, so that even in the middle of the match, that sort of had me a little flustered. As far as I knew something was happening to my partner. So not only am I getting the tar beat out of me and trying to fight back as much as I can, but I'm concerned about my partner as well. So you sort of have, the physical and the mental going on in the ring. You don't really know what's happening. And so I was able to talk to him, after the match, obviously. And, when I looked over, I saw his knee, and I'm not kidding you, the size of a cantaloupe. And it was scary to even look at. My only thing was, I think, concern. As I said, I'd spoken to him many times throughout the course of his recovery and his injury. And this, I think, more than breaking up a tag team, why would it break you up? If you're really a team, which we are, when something happens, you're there for each other, regardless of whether it's in the ring or outside of the ring. You always try to be there for each other. That's just part of being that collective unit. It's sort of like sort of like being married in a certain kind of way. What happens, inside of the ring or outside of the ring, you're always there for each other. Because if something as petty as an injury or something like that's going to break up a tag team, then you want a very solid tag team, to begin with, because you really have to have that bond inside of the ring, and to have that bond inside of the ring, you really have to be, together on the outside of the ring as well. With what happens. It's like, again, every great tag team, travel together, eat together, stay the night in the same hotel rooms together. All stuff that we've done. And you genuinely care about each other. Outside of the ring isn't just a professional relationship. And so I try to be there as much as I can for him, hope, for the best on his recovery, and just, try to negotiate and navigate where our next courses would be when he came back. But then I got injured, so sort of, well, what do we do now? So we sort of plotting together our next steps. But if anything, I think it solidifies that the tag team even more because, you're there for each other through thick and thin, and just like a good relationship, just like a good marriage, once you're there for each other through the worst of times, when the best of times comes, it's even more gratifying and even more worth it.
Yeah.
So that's just sort of my take and my perspective on it.
Yeah, because I mean,
may I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I wanna touch on that because he explained his perspective as the match unfolded up until the injury. Well, from my own perspective, I remember early in the night going in there and checking out the top rope, and I remember the top rope was a bit loose, and I knew I wanted to attempt this plancha. Keep in mind, I never tried this particular plancha. I've dove over the top rope many of times before, but never this style. And it's as they say in the WWE, kids, don't try this at home. Well, I saw Kevin Owens, who's fat as hell, and he'll say it himself, okay, do this somersault plancha and pull it off the set. So I said, well, if he's fat, hell, I could do it. Well, again, I remember entering the ring. Grailf is pummeling these guys, headbutt, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, I seen this on TV. I'm going to try it. So I start bouncing in the middle of the ring, and I'm like, wow, this ring is really bouncy, too. I take off, and it reminded me of something like Final Destination, the movie. And, in my mind, everything is moving in slow motion, and I could just envision this before it even happened. I take off. I hit the ropes. I come back. I grab that top rope, but I held on too long. That's the mistake. And Jay Lethal had mentioned this to me at Final Destination. He said, had I known you were going to do that style of plancha, I would have asked you, have you ever done it before? Because that is the common mistake guys will make with that particular move is they hold on to the rope too long. And as a result, I got too much rotation. I catch my butt on the ring apron, touch the ground, ride Diesel down to the barricade, fire up. Dijak kicks me in the face. Okay, later I find out I got a black eye when I scraped the paint off my face. And I knew as I stumbled over to my corner, my knee didn't feel stable. It just didn't. I get up on my ring apron, and you could see in the video me pumping my leg. I'm even jumping, trying to work it out. I'm looking down, looking to see if it's swollen. It's not quite. I'm like, why does it feel funny? Well, Grailf got hit with a elbow drop by Dijak. Dijak proceeds to get up and taunt me by blowing me a kiss. This kiss was like the kiss of death because as I went in that ring and lifted my left leg to get in, my right leg just folded under me and I dropped. It just went out. And I've never had anything like that happen to me before. And I remember the referee came right over to me, Steve Chaz, and I told him, I was like, I can't go. Like, there's just no way I could barely stand. I couldn't even stand up. It was that bad. And unfortunately, the team that, Donovan Dijak and Jay Diesel were at the time, they just took advantage of that situation. And unfortunately, Grailf was the victim. And we lost. And we lost in a very bad, way. And God, if we could ever, face them again, you could trust me, it will not be the same outcome.
I get you, man. Okay. I mean, look, I don't mind. You can always go on a rant. I don't mind because we're about to also go on your Valentine's Day rant also, but that'll be later on for the show. But I must say the fam enjoyed that rant. But one thing I want to talk about, if anyone has seen y'all's style of wrestling, it's a smash mouth. I mean, dear Lord, you hear the music. The music gets you pumping, want to get you full throttle, ready to go. So now, I hate to say injuries can slow someone down, but you kind of said you kind of have to retool, reload. So what can fans expect from the BloodBound Warriors? Is it going to be not the same Smash Mouth style, but what is it going to be?
Well, for me personally, they better believe that I'm coming back 110% than what I was before, and that I'm going just as intense, if not more intense, than I was before I got injured. I'm just going to do things safely and I'm not going to jeopardize re-injuring my muscles. So I've been working on different moves. I've been working on different offense, but I'm going to come with no less tenacity, no less insanity, and no less just bloodthirstiness than I had before. I'm coming for the skulls, and I'm coming for victory, and there's nothing that's going to stand in my way to stop me. I've been training harder than I ever have before. In fact, tonight I set a personal record on a T-bar row at the gym, lifting more weight on there for more reps than I ever had before. I couldn't fit any more weight on the bar for the T-bar row. I had, I believe, 9 plates loaded on the T-bar row, and I did it for a set of 10 reps. Afterwards, I went to the bathroom and I lost my dinner. But then I came back and I kept going hard. That's just what we do. That's the BloodBound Warriors, and that's who we are. Scorpion says, that you must just adapt. Adapting doesn't mean going any less hard. Adapting doesn't mean giving any less intensity. It just means working around any extant injuries or extant problems you might have, which is just making you grow as a wrestler and grow as an individual, because now you have to, in forcing yourself to adapt, you're evolving and becoming something even greater than you were before. So I think we're going to come back even stronger than we were before we got hurt. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You said smash mouth. That's an interesting word, and I would say if that's what you thought our style was before, it's not going to change. Matter of fact, it'll be more so, because how I injured myself was attempting some like lucha style pronto as if I was 160 pounds, and I'm not. So you're not going to see me flying as much as I did, which I didn't even do it that much. But you're going to see more aggressive strikes, power moves. I haven't lost anything. And as far as my strength goes, regardless of my leg and its potential, inability to bend or bend it all the way, it doesn't stop me from standing up. It doesn't stop me from lifting anybody. It doesn't stop me from throwing a knee strike. So as far as that goes, when I say adapt, you might not see the back or rack attack, that backflip thing I would do in the corner. You might not see that as much, not for a while at least. And that was one of my signature moves. But you might not see the 6-pack attack where I would hook the top rope and be able to splash down, because my knees will then crash into the mat somewhat. You might not see that, but you'll see other stuff. Yeah. And again, adapt. So just by cutting out some small things, doesn't mean it's going to inhibit our tenacity or inhibit, what we bring to the table, because what we bring to the table is a hammer, and that's what we're going to lay down. We're going to lay the hammer down on somebody.
Well, that's good, because I know, just watching y'all's style and watching the way you guys go, it's really good. The fans eat it up. They get into it, and it's always, something, you guys represent, I want, an old school feel, but, your style. That's what I like about it. Kind of like the old school Road Warriors, Powers of Pain. I definitely don't say, the Descension like y'all called them on the last show, so we don't, want to call them too much that name. But,
Yeah, well, I don't fit them in the same category as the former that you mentioned either.
But still, I mean.
Are they even still wrestling?
I don't know. Have you heard of them?
I will say,
we've been injured, and you hear more about us than you do of them.
Actually, yeah, you do. I mean, I must admit, y'all really know how to keep it fresh. I got to give it to you. You really do. The next thing I wanted to kind of bring up is the fact of, you talked about trying to find promotions to work with you. Right now, they're all in talks. One of my friends here that is listening to the show, he wanted to ask, because are you guys going to try to go back to Ring of Honor eventually? And not just that, but what other promotions that you would, just like to get a shot at? I mean, it is what it is, but, what would you guys like to get a shot just to be a part of?
You can answer that.
You want to answer that first, Scott? Oh, you want me to answer?
Okay. All right.
For me, I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you go.
All right. I'll just say this. We're scheduled to wrestle, okay, March 11th at Legacy Wrestling for the tag team titles there.
All right.
We earned this shot at these titles back in June. they're a super indie promotion, and do not run like every month like your typical, indie fed. So it's I think they have about maybe 5 shows a year, but these shows are big shows, and they have top indie talent there. So we're going to be wrestling for Tag Team Gold in the month of March 11th. That is at Spooky Nook in I believe it's it's close to Lancaster. Is it Manheim?
It's Manheim.
Right? Okay.
Yeah,
Manheim, Pennsylvania. So, and I'm telling you what, we are going to bring it. You're going to want to be there. If anybody listening has a chance to get there, please, you must be there, because it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal. Yeah. And but as far as any other company goes, we had like talks with I think a photographer from like FIP, down in Florida, I remember. And this is based on, because the week of my injury, I believe we aired on TV for Ring of Honor when we took on the Briscoe brothers.
Yeah, I
the
remember.
Week before, right? And keep in mind, that was but an eighth of the match. You didn't see the whole match, because in reality, had they shown you that whole match, it didn't have the same perspective from TV as opposed if you were there live, because we
had a lot more offense.
Hammer on them. Oh yes,
we did.
We dropped the hammer on them. They didn't show everything.
Yeah, I was gonna. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that, like I said, and so I mean, we have so much more to bring, and they're gonna see it. People are gonna see.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I seeing that match. They were like, well, man, your boys look kind of like they were down. I was like, nah, I'm telling you right now, I want the other tape, because I'm telling you that tape was not right. So I just want to make that clear.
There's a couple of times we almost won against the Briscoe brothers, which they didn't show.
That was a good match, though. I mean, what they did show, I just was like, man, they had to have more, because it really, what I was impressed with was, that you guys were not just able to go with them, but it's just, not only that, the crowd reaction was great with y'all.
Yeah.
So, for you, Grey Wolf, what about you?
Well, what about me? My ultimate goal, I think, would just be to work steadily for Ring of Honor. That's the ultimate and where I believe I'd like to be. I like the talent there. I like the people there. I feel like it's a family, and some of the best talent in the world. I don't think that you get much better than Ring of Honor, with the exceptions, perhaps. I don't even want to say they're better, but New Japan's, right on par with Ring of Honor, and they work consistently with Ring of Honor. So that's ultimately the way I'd like to be, is, Ring of Honor steadily, as far as an ultimate goal. But I'd work, pretty much anywhere else that's good exposure with good talent. There have been talks about us possibly going over Japan, as Scorpion said, Canada, and the Legacy event that we have coming up on March 11th is just fantastic talent all around on the card. Shane Strickland, Eddie Smooth, Veda Scott, just to name a few of the people that are going to be there. And it's just a loaded card, with all the best independent talent. People that have worked for Ring of Honor are going to be on this card. And, as far as other promotions to work for, bring us anyone. We don't care where it is. We don't care who it is. We don't care, how strong or how agile or how big, how fast, if they can, do 450, splashes off the top rope. It doesn't matter if they're hardcore. It doesn't matter who they are. We say bring anybody who dares stand in the way of the BloodBound Warriors and watch the destruction ensue. Watch us demolish any team, any style, anywhere, in the style that only the BloodBound Warriors can deliver. That is what I say. I say you bring a challenge. I say we accept. That is what I say.
Guys, just hurry up and get down to Georgia. That's really what I want. I'm trying to get these, some of these promoters to hurry up and just get you guys down here. I mean, really, we just got to get it down where we can get you out in Georgia too now. Yeah, it'd be cool to see y'all down here. There's a lot of wrestling shows here.
We'd love to come down.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really good wrestling shows down here. One of the places we're actually, trying to plug here also. So there's a lot of good spots. So what right now, we're talking, have you been able to kind of catch up with the, the indie scenes, like with the guys out there, the latest guys out there, who are guys that, are, capturing the attention of y'all?
mean, Scorpion will know better than I. He pays a lot better attention to sort of what goes on. I sort of pay attention to whatever I'm booked on. I get to know the talent. I get to know sort of who's out there. Scorpion's really, as I said, one complements the other. Scorpion really scouts the talent and looks at, who we might have to contend against. And so Scorpion would be a lot better fit to answer that question than I.
Yeah, so you're asking who as far as tag team or just
tag team. Well, yeah, like tag team. Like, have you seen any tag teams that you really want to, go up against?
It's there's yes. You know who I would like to go against? Who I think we should go against is the Viking War Party. Yes, I said
Viking War Party.
I
think that'd be fun.
Said it, the Viking War Party, and I say that because my brother is all Viking. Grey Wolf, he is all Viking, and I'm calling them fraud. That's what I'm calling them fraud. And
well, I have respect for the Viking War Party, and I know who they are because Jake Parnell, one of the he's the smaller one, the more agile one out of the Viking War Party. He actually contacted me and respectfully said, do you mind if we use war paint? We don't want to, steal your look too much or, do this or that too much. And I, gave him the go-ahead and said, I respect immensely the fact that you contacted us and asked us for permission to sort of do a little bit of what we're doing. So I do have respect for them in the very least. I haven't really paid too much attention to their work or what they do. But I know there's two bigger individuals on the team than the one smaller. So there's three of them and two of us. But I say we go in and just have a melee, have a big brawl with them, and then maybe go out afterwards and have meat and mutton, and just enjoy ourselves. Because that's the sort of event I think that they do the same thing we do. We like getting in there and smashing each other's skulls in, and then going out and enjoying ourselves afterwards. So I think they're very similar to us, to a certain degree. In that sort of way, and I think it'd be a fun match. I definitely would agree with Scorpion on that, knowing who they are.
Yeah, I'd like to say also Black Wall Street. Yes,
yes.
The Red Scorpion said it. Black Wall Street. Now there's four of them. You could team them up any which way, but you know who I want? Who I feel
same ones I want.
Solo and Napalm Bomb. Yes.
I'm just smiling right now because I'll tell you what, if there was a way I could play fantasy book, I'd put you guys also against the Washington Bullets. I think that would be awesome because that would also be a fun match to watch. But you guys, let's talk about, kind of like this. The fans love y'all. They just eat it up. I mean, it could be Red Scorpion shooting about, what was it, Valentine's Day. It could be, it could be Grey Wolf talking about how, just that how he wants to put a sledgehammer on somebody. It's just freaking hilarious, guys. So, kind of, how much do you appreciate the fans and everything that they do to you?
I mean, without the fans, we wouldn't be here. And I think more than anyone else, we really go above and beyond to give back to the fans because we appreciate them so much. And we really realize that without the fans, this isn't like another sport where if you can kick a ball or hit a baseball or sink a basket, depending that you'll get a contract. No, this isn't like that at all. It's sort of you have to have a good attitude and be really positive and just be a professional. And you come to appreciate the fans because they're ultimately who put you where you are, not the ability to sink a ball or such as you would in any other sport. So what we do, you'll see us posting pictures all the time. We love the fans, and we're always trying to give back to the fans as much as we can, because without them, we really wouldn't be where we are. And when you feel that energy and our music hits, and before we even break the curtain, you hear the fans because they know our music and. You hear them erupt and it just gets your adrenaline going that much more and it amps you up and it's just like cheering for your favorite sports player. It gives them a certain extra stamina. It gives them a certain extra intensity. And, we really feed off of that, both of us, especially, feed off of, the energy that the crowd gives you. And we really I couldn't express, enough how much we appreciate the fans.
All right. And now you go ahead, Squirt.
Right, I'll add to that. So you know, you ask any promoter what is the job of a promoter, and they would tell you to put butts in seats. That's what their ultimate goal is, to put butts in seats, and we can bring that, you know, because that's what we do, and we appreciate our fans, and trust me, when they get a dose of what we have to offer, they'll come back, and they'll want more and more and more, because that's what we give them. You know, we give them their fix, you know, and they just can't get enough, and we enjoy every minute of it. It's not a job. It's not a job for us. You know, you don't got to pull, twist our arms. No, we're willing to do this, you know, and we love it. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and we'll never turn down an opportunity to take a picture or give an autograph. And that's one thing you'll see some people at shows, they'll charge you for an autograph. I just don't believe in that. You know, if anybody wants a picture with me or an autograph, you know, with myself and the Red Scorpion, you know, whatever they want us to do, whatever kind of crazy pose, you know, we've bitten people, we've hung people upside down, you know, we've choked people, you know, whatever they want us to do in the picture, whatever comes to our minds even, you know, we want to have fun and we want them to have fun, because when you have somebody that's approaching you, especially if there's somebody that looks up to you, you know, and sees you as an entertainer, you're going to leave, whatever action you choose to do is going to leave an impact on them that they may remember forever. So in that 2 seconds you've spent to take a picture with them, that may stay with them and remain with them for the rest of their lives. And what sort of impression do you want to make? What sort of influence do you want to have, especially on the children who are very, very impressionable? You know, what sort of message do you want to send to them? You know, and we want to send the best message we possibly can. That if you're ever in this position, what would the BloodBound Warriors do? You know, we want to give that back to them. So we'll never hesitate on an opportunity to take a picture with somebody or sign an autograph for somebody, you know, or you know, shake somebody's hand, you know, have a little conversation if time, you know, permits. And we'll stay there all night to do it if we have to. In fact, we're usually some of the last people to get, go back to the locker room. People are called back to the locker room during intermission because we're just so busy interacting with people and signing autographs and, you know, whatever it is we have to do to give back. Because I want to make sure every single person that wants an autograph or wants a picture with us receives one.
Yes, and Danny Cage from the world famous Monster Factory said it best. We're in the business of creating memories. And the BloodBound Warriors are good at what we do. And that's create memories.
Yep. Well, I mean, you know, and it's excellent because that's kind of like a lost art that, you know, you guys embrace being the fans, you know, being with them. You embrace being the fan favorites. You know, and no doubt about it, if you had to play heel, you would. But, I mean, I'm just saying it's good to see guys that kind of can teach lessons on, hey, if you're going to be a fan favorite, get these fans that want to come back. You know, because a lot of guys, that kind of gets, like, missed out. Is that, you know, they're all about the wrestling. They're all about, you know, what's going to work. But what they forget is how do you tie the fans back in where you get them wanting more. That's just something that I like, you know, hearing from y'all. Talk about that instant pop that, you know, and you know it's addicting. You know it just makes you want to get back out there and feed off from the crowd. But what is it like hearing the crowd just go bananas after, you know, as soon as your music pops out, before you even break the curtain?
You can answer first, Grable.
You want me to start?
No, I won't end it because, yeah.
All right. Well, there's really no other feeling like it in the world. And especially right before you break the curtain. If that music hits and you haven't even broken the curtain yet and you hear the enthusiasm from the crowd, you hear that giant pop because they know what's coming. They know the thunder that's about to come through that curtain. You know, you just start trembling with anticipation. You just start shaking. You start, the adrenaline starts going. And you can hear even in my voice, my inflection, that, you know, I'm getting excited even thinking about it because that's just the energy you collect from them that you want to give back, that exuberance back to them. And, you know, regardless of where it is in the match, you know, when you hear that crowd start coming up for you, you know, you just start shaking and trembling and your whole body sort of vibrates and radiates with that passion. And you just want to exude that and give it back in any form you can. And usually with us, being the BloodBound Warriors and who we are, it usually ends up with somebody's skull getting broken against the mat, you know, on the opposing team. But that's just what we do, as you said, smash mouth, you know. So that's sort of how we channel that energy, I suppose you could say. But there's really no other feeling like it in the world, and it really is a quite addictive feeling. And it sort of isn't a relationship established, between you and the fans. It's almost like if you go to a rock concert and you're one of your favorite bands on the stage, and you give them that electricity and they feed it back to you. There's almost a connection between you and the performer. So I really feel, especially with a live crowd, that there's that electricity and there's that connection that you have, and to be able to look into the eyes of each individual person in the crowd and know that they're giving something to you and you're giving something back. It's just like sort of everything in the universe is cohesive, and everything is sort of at one, and everything is sort of how it's supposed to be in some dynamic kind of way. And there's nothing more beautiful, there's no better experience I can really say in the world that is comparable to it.
Now, before you...
that pop.
Yeah, I want to hear from you.
That pop, okay, that pop that you explained, okay, that is the reason why I am in the wrestling business. And I'll tell you why. Because when I first started wrestling, actually, no, I wasn't wrestling. No, what am I talking about? How I got into wrestling, though. A good friend of mine, Jay Diesel, once again, his name comes up, okay?
Seems to be the man of the night.
Yes.
Code name.
Debuting for the SWO. And during that match, the opponent that he beats him with a chair. And during that match, or I'm sorry, after the match, that is, his father hits the guy with his cane. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, Joe's dad just hit him with a cane. God rest his soul, because he's not with us right now. Diesel's father, that is. But it was like, and everybody's in my ear. All our friends are around it. They say, hey, you going to let him do that to your boy? You going to let him do that to your boy? And I start catching feelings. Now he comes by me, drops the chair right in front of me. Okay, I'm at the corner, front seat of the aisle as you come out. Him and the ECW original hat guy was his manager. And Diesel's there mouthing off to them, and they're mouthing off back. So I pick up this chair. Oh, yes, I pick this chair up. And I get in that aisle, and I put it up like I'm going to hit him. And I say, you better get the heck out of here. And I put it up, and hat guy says, that's one of Jay Diesel's boys. We better get the heck out of here. And they take off down the ramp, and I chase after them. And as soon as they get through the curtain, I throw that chair down. I beat my chest. And I'm telling you, as this was going on, that crowd erupted. Jay Diesel, I'm sorry, but I stole your thunder. I stole your thunder for that second. And that is that addiction. That is what made me want to become a professional wrestler, and I started training maybe like a week, the next week, that is. Yes. It's that pop.
Awesome.
There you have it.
Well, and now time's about 10 when you come back. I mean, I can only imagine on March 11th when you guys go for those belts. I mean, you guys do deserve those things. So, I mean, I like I said, I wish there was a way I could actually get my butt over there on Friday night on March 11th to see you guys.
You'll be able to see a YouTube video, I'm sure.
Oh, I hope so.
We'll have yeah.
I mean, you guys pretty much, like I said, let's put it this way: there's no talking up the crowd on this one to get people in. You guys, I'm very looking forward to it. Send me a picture of it so I can make sure and advertise it also on All Wrestle Talk, because I would like to make sure people are aware of it up in the PA area. So I guess let's
Absolutely.
go. I just gotta say, guys, I know that this year has been maybe a year setbacks, but now we're 2016. So now the BloodBound Warriors on track to make the comeback. So what are we going to expect from you guys?
As always, destruction. That's all. If it could be summed up in one word, destruction. As I said, give us any adversary, any foe, anyone daring enough to get into the ring with us, and we'll destroy them. We'll lay them out in such a way that they've never been laid out before, and we'll make an impression upon them that they shall never in this lifetime forget. Because we are the BloodBound Warriors, and that is what we do. We are the greatest warriors of our time, and I dare say it with the utmost passion that I have within my being, that none shall stand against us. It doesn't matter what venue it is, whether it's out in the country where there's nobody to observe with 3 people in the crowd. It doesn't matter if it's overseas with a crowded arena of 20,000 people. We will bring the same thing, and that is destruction down upon our foes. The skies will open, it will rain as blood upon them, and their women shall weep. They shall have tears of our triumph, and we shall be victorious. That is what I can promise. In that one word, we promise to bring destruction.
Yes, we are the bringers of pain, for sure. You've been warned.
I hear you. And real quick, before we let go of this, I gotta go ahead and give you Red Scorp. You started something beautiful, and a lot of my boys, a lot of people loved it. So I'm gonna give you a little form. You may never become the spokesperson of Hallmark, but still, let's go ahead and get your take on the Valentine's Day card search that you had to do. Because I'm going to tell you, your Facebook post was, I never have seen a post get that much action just because of a Valentine's Day.
You know, and I used the wrong face in there because I used a happy face. I should have used a more frustrated looking face because it was frustration. Okay. I thought about that back and I was like, what was I thinking? But here I am in Walmart. Okay. I just got done training. I went to a meeting for Keystone Pro and I'm sitting there, you know, late night. I mean, it was late and I'm walking around. Actually, no, what am I talking about? That was Saturday after the hectic, crazy event that took place. That was a hot mess. But anyway, so there I am in Walmart, and I get, you know, the Scorpion Queen sends me to Walmart. She was upset at me, obviously, because of some things that happened during the show that I'm sure will be put out there at this past event, February 13th at Keystone Pro. So I drop her off at home and I go to the quote unquote after party at the brasserie. She said she needs, you know, some certain items from Walmart. So I go to Walmart and as I finally get into the aisle to pay for my, you know, my items, there's a gentleman in front of me and I see what he has. He has a flowers, chocolate, and a Valentine. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. I forgot. How could I forget? And I told him, I said, dude, you're making me look bad. You're making me look really bad right now. And I'm sitting there and I'm telling him this, you know, and he's laughing, just thinks it's so funny, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, I have to get, you know, what perfect opportunity. This is it. I should get something. I cannot come home empty-handed. You know, if it's anything, and I'm broke, because I haven't been wrestling, nor have I been working because I've been on like disability from my injury. So, you know, the money's really tight. But the least I could do is get a Valentine, right? That's the least I could do.
Yep, exactly.
Well, boy, I tell you. So I go to the, you know, the card section, okay? And trust me, it's scarce. There's hardly anything there. So I'm picking up these cards and I'm reading them and it's like, oh, to that special somebody, hugs, loves, and kisses and this and that. And I'm like, what a bunch of bull crap. My life ain't that perfect. You know, I'm trying to find a card and they're all lovey-dovey, this and that. Well, where's the card that says, hey, I hate you, you hate me, life is peachy? You know, where's that card? Because that's the truth. Scorpion Queen hates my gut. Okay, she hates me, and I want that card. You know what I mean? I want the card that's real. These cards are not real. So you know what somebody says? They say, "Well, that's Scorpion. That's when you get the card that says nothing, and you write it yourself." And I thought to myself, you know what? You're absolutely right. Yet I didn't get that card. No. I got some other ugly cards. This card was hideous. It was felt. It had felt. It was pink. It said to that special you. I should have said, I was going to do it myself. I was going to cross out the special because it ain't all that special. And I was going to put the okay you. You know, because really, let's be real. Okay, life ain't all that. Life ain't rainbow. What is it? Sunshine and rainbow. You know, it just isn't. It's not in my world. So, I mean, these cards are such bull crap. Oh my goodness.
So
there you have it.
Yeah. I was about to say. So, are you telling me that there's going to be no sponsorship to what's called Hallmark?
I think they would actually. Oh, okay. Absolutely. Why not? You go the opposite direction. The Grinch. You know, the Grinch. The Grinch of Valentine's Day. Yes, that is I.
I mean, I got to go here. I can see the BloodBound Warriors Valentines. I think that we could make money off that, and we'll let Grey Wolf. You can do some cards, and Scorp, you're gonna have to do some of your famous lines too. I mean,
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It's all about giving hugs and kisses, but we're about crushing hearts. Yes, crushing hearts and making them bleed.
Well, not necessarily always crushing. I mean, there's always reaching inside somebody's sternum, taking this still beating heart and ripping it from the chest and taking a big bite. I mean, you can't forget that
yes. one. Oh, no, not that one. Yes, of course that one.
That's sort of making me hungry in a certain kind of way.
Well, you told us you kind of, spilled your dinner out. So, I can understand if you want some more dinner. I mean, hey, that'd be, if anything, you made room for more. That's what I would be saying. But look, guys,
maybe that'll be meal number 5.
Yeah. Look, guys, I'm so glad to have you on the show. And like I said, anytime you're in Georgia, please, we'll make arrangements where you could come, over to have to sit down. But we appreciate you guys doing everything you can. Yeah, the year, you got hurt, but we want you to know that we at least fans, we appreciate the work, the dedication you're taking to the rehab and everything that you have to do. And Scorp, man, I'm glad to know you're alive. I know it's been hell with, the MRSA, all that stuff, or the staff. I know what that can do. And, bro, I'm just glad to know you're well. I actually had a bout of it myself. Luckily, they didn't have to do any surgery on me. But, guys, I just appreciate everything y'all do. And please don't ever be strangers. You are always welcome at All Wrestle Talk. And I tell you, you get signed, you just tell me. We'll do a show right then and there. I don't care. I mean, you guys have that kind of access with me.
We really appreciate you having us on and, taking the time and really getting in depth on a lot of issues. We really do appreciate you, especially giving us this forum and in this amount of time to just sort of speak our minds and conclude whenever we see, sort of feel we reached our conclusion, stuff, sort of trying to have a rush generic questions. We've done a lot of, different interviews and podcasts. We really enjoyed this one because I feel like it's a lot more organic. And we're not really pressed for time, and we really enjoy ourselves calling in to do this one.
Well, and like I said,
thank you for having us.
Well, like I said, this is really for you guys. You guys put the time in. You guys do all the work, and it's my way of saying thank you. I'm a fan, and first and foremost, I think all of us are. And the thing is, when you meet two guys that work hard like y'all do, and then have the setback, but then there's always that comeback story, and that's what. I'm rooting for, and I know we're going to see it, and I can't wait. And like I said, man, you guys put it on All Wrestle Talk. I'll put it on the website. I don't have a problem because you guys earned it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
thank you very much.
No problem. And any booker that's listening, you need to sign these guys. Just get them working. I mean, these guys will get you the fans. Come on, Scorp, and not only that, Scorp will make personal Valentines for you. How about that? We'll even throw that in. So, well, look, guys, this has been the late night edition of All Wrestle Talk. I think it went well, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out. Like I said, rehabbing and working out and everything. Please stay in touch. If you want to get a hold of, let's go ahead and tell us the best ways to get a hold of you guys for bookings.
You can go first, if you like.
Okay. Yeah, you can reach us on Facebook at our fan page at BloodBound. Just type in the BloodBound Warriors and you'll find us. My personal Facebook page, fan page, the Red Scorpion, Mark Hazel. There's also a YouTube channel if you want to follow up on any of our matches. You can find that on YouTube. Just type in the Red Scorpion Mark Hazel because it's my personal account that I load all of our matches on, and you'll find a bunch, like from our first match that we've had together to our very last. It's all on there, and also on our Twitter account, which is at BloodBound War. at BloodBound War. And then my own personal Twitter account, which is at Red Scorpion 717. And then Grey Wolf can tell you all of his information then.
If you want to get in touch with me personally, Scorpion already gave you the tag team information. If you want to check out my fan page, it's facebook.com/t.l.w.greywolf. Or you could just type in the search bar The Last Warrior Grey Wolf. And for my Twitter account, it's Twitter at @TLW_Grey Wolf. You could contact me on my personal page if you like. It's facebook.com/xGreyWolfX, though I don't believe I have any more room for adding new friends at the moment. But you can follow me on there, so I post sort of ridiculous things over here and then on my personal page. Also, I've got to do it. Scorpion knows I have to do it because it's my home, and I have to at least once mention the world-famous Monster Factory. That is where I was trained, and that's, we've held the Monster Factory Pro Wrestling Tag Team titles. So please search Facebook.com, the Monster Factory. Just type in the search bar. They also have the Monster Factory Network. If you want to go on Google and Google the Monster Factory Network, they have all sorts of content and great things. There's just fantastic things coming from the world famous Monster Factory, and I cannot encourage you enough. If you want to become a pro wrestler or just want to see some good pro wrestling, please check out the Monster Factory. Also, want to give a shout out to my lovely wife, the lovely Kat Raventhorn, and also to Regina, because Regina, I love you. I know you're listening, and I hope that you are well. So that is about all for me.
Well, guys, you've been excellent class acts, and I so appreciate it. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here, but if you are on All Wrestle Talk on the Spreaker app, you can always find us. I'm C-Double. All Wrestle Talk logo is on there. That's how you can find us. Also on YouTube, we will be downloading this. It will be up probably in the morning, but it will be on the website, also on AWTNNation.com, and then also you can go to AWTN or AWTNation.com. That's our website. And All Wrestle Talk on Facebook. So, guys, that's how you're going to find us. And just know, next Wednesday we have Fred Yehi, or actually Mad Dog Dan Sawyer, and then we're going to have Fred Yehi. So it's going to be a double daily, really, to have two different interviews. So we're going to have a good time with it. But, man, you guys, thank you again for everything you've done. I know, like I said, the road, to get back to where you're at has been rough, but just know your fans are behind you. We believe in you, and we can't wait to see y'all destroy a bunch of indie wrestlers wherever you're on. And like you said, the Road to Skulls will be coming, and we'll be following them because we'll know where you're at.
And we shall not let anyone down.
Exactly. Well,
absolutely.
Well, guys, I'm C-Double. This is Grey Wolf, and then that's Red Scorpion. And, guys, one word. I got just two words to say. I'm out.